Welcome to Sravz technical series. This is session 2 of the CPP DuckDB service sessions we were going through. In this session, we'll discuss display output in JSON format, load Parquet file from a pre-signed URL from S3 or Contabo, and I cleaned up the code a little bit, so I'll discuss the code cleanup. So the code is available in the gist here, and the video explanation, the YouTube channel will be added here. So I'll switch to the Visual Studio Code and run the test cases once. I'll run this test case, DuckDB service, select from S3 Parquet file. I'll run it in debug mode so we can see the output. It is building the code. So the test case run is successful, and now we can see the output in the JSON format. Earlier it was in a text format. Now I modified the output so that it's in a JSON format, and you see it's a well-defined JSON. And right now I'm selecting data for only NVIDIA. We can update the where class to select any other tick. So that is about the demo. The other test cases also run, but I won't run them now because I showed them in the previous video. So all these 4 test cases are running. I'll go to the Git graph and show the differences in the code. So in this video, we'll only discuss the important changes. There are many changes made to the files. So if you have any questions, you can always ask me in the YouTube channel. But for today, we'll just discuss the important changes. So in the DuckDB controller, I renamed the functions. Earlier I had select. I now renamed that select to select from S3 Parquet file. So instead of selecting a static file from the system, we'll get a pre-signed URL from S3, and then using that pre-signed URL, we'll load the Parquet file into DuckDB memory and then query on top of that file. So I renamed the function in DuckDB, that is DuckDB controller. In DuckDB service.cpp, now the DuckDB client will take a shade pointer of Contabo client. So DuckDB client can use this Contabo client to query for a certain bucket and prefix and get the pre-signed URL, and then it will load that file at that pre-signed URL and then performs a select on that Parquet file. I also added this function create table if it does not exist. So this way we can create the tables in DuckDB in memory only if the table is already not present, and then we pass a create statement to that table. And since we taking S3 Contabo client, we created a private variable here, shade pointer S3 client. So that is the DuckDB service. Now we'll go through the DuckDB controller.cpp implementation. So these are just indirection. These are just a wrapper around the DuckDB client. So there's nothing much here. Just the function names have changed. Instead of select, we have select from S3 Parquet file. So that's a simple small change. Then the service.cpp. In the service.cpp, we take the S3 client Contabo shade pointer. So we'll use that to create a pre-signed URL of a particular file at S3 bucket and prefix. So we take that. Then in DuckDB, since we were using these extensions, httpfs and JSON, we have to let DuckDB know unsigned extension. So I won't cover this in this video, but if you have any questions, you can ping me in YouTube channel. But the way I created the DuckDB shade object is by compiling it in my local file, and I also compile the extensions, and then I put the extensions on my user local lib extensions directory. So now DuckDB will pick the extensions from my local file system. Since I compile them, I know those files. So that's why I allow DuckDB to load unsigned extension. So it's going to load from my local folder. It's not going to pull from the internet. So that's why I put that. And then instead of saying install, I'll just say load. When I do load, DuckDB will get those extensions from a predefined file, user local lib extension directory, and gets the extensions from there. If I do install HTTPS, it will query from HTTP, it will query from DuckDB URL, and it was throwing forbidden error. So instead of querying the external source all the time, to be more consistent, more safe, I compile the extensions and I'll use the extensions I compile. So that's why I don't do install anymore. I just do load httpfs and load JSON. These 2 commands are not working. We'll fix it at a later point. I just want DuckDB to display a nice banner showing which version it is running and where are the extensions, what extensions are loaded. So it will help us in debugging. These are not working for now. Yeah, at a later point, we'll fix those. This function is the same. Table exists. it returns a boolean if a table is there or not. Based on this return value, we'll create the table if the table is, and then select from S3 Parquet file. We give the bucket name and a where clause. So it goes in here. We create a create table if it does not exist. So if the table is not present, then using this bucket and prefix, we'll use countable client to get the pre-signed URL, and we'll create the table internally in memory. So this is where we are doing all that. We get the pre-signed URL for that bucket name and prefix, and then using that pre-signed URL, we'll set these auto extension to 1. These are, I'll check if these are needed or not. It's there, right? And then we'll update create statement, and then we'll create the table. Updated create statement. We'll create the table, and then we'll display that the table has been created. So create table if it does not exist. Create table. Once we create the table in memory, then we do select to JSON and select from JSON, and then we return the result as an array using BoostB serialized JSON array. We have a JSON array. We just serialize that and we send it back as JSON output, and that is the output you were seeing in the terminal here in the other screen. Yeah, this is the output you see. And the other changes we have made. I made some changes to the CMake list so that it compiles it, and to the Docker file so that we can build the extensions, etc., so that we can load those extensions in the Docker file. So I won't discuss those in this video session, but if you want to know how to build the DuckDB extensions, ping me in the YouTube channel and I'll create a separate video for that. So with that, I'll close today's session. If you have any questions or comments, please reach me out in the YouTube channel or in the discussion tab here in the documentation. Thank you for watching.